Sagittarius, did you ever hear of the book of Job? It is a part of the Judeo-Christian Bible. And it's basically a story where the devil goes to God and says, you know this boy Job, you love him so much. He's so wonderful, but you've given him everything. It's kind of easy to be faithful in you when you've given him everything, when you've made it easy. How about this? We wager a little bet and you let me test him. And let's see if he still believes in you the way that he always does, the way that he has so far. And so God, in this incredible act of kind of selfishness and conceit, decides, all right, do it. But ultimately it's because he believes in Job. Even though Job is a human, he's fallible, he's imperfect, he's like, no, I believe in him. I believe in his truth. And so the devil proceeds to basically destroy everything. Job was a millionaire with healthy children, a wonderful wife, had beautiful land. He took everything from him. And along the way, kept checking in to see if every night Job kept praying. And Job kept praying. And so when everything was gone, even his children, the devil came to tempt him to say, where's your God now? And Job said simply, where he's always been. He's always with me. Something to that extent. And in that last act of faith, in the hour when it was worst and most harsh, Job not only regained back everything that he had lost as if it was never gone, he gained back twofold more. Your faith is about to be tested, Sagittarius. You're going to get some really bad news that kind of shakes and quakes just the nature of your home and what you feel is good about it. A sense of really bad news that comes in that sort of takes away your innocence and just shakes the very foundation of your happiness. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could simply be the loss of their innocence. Some sort of idea that you had of life being, the idea or imagery that you had in your head of life being pristine is about to be ripped down. From something that you had in your youth, sort of like a wealth of fantasies or dreams that you had in your youth, or fantasies and dreams of youth and wealth, or just the way that you saw your life, how easy you kind of thought it would be. As well as faith and belief or investing in a young person, somebody that you invested a great deal in, or somebody that invested a great deal in you since you were young, believing in you like God believed in Job, right? All of a sudden, like this from the time that they were a child, constructing you, building you, taking care of you, loving you, caring about you. Something happens to them. There's bad news that comes in, and ultimately your innocence is taken away with that understanding. Now, we are all being tested in the worst way, Sagittarius. And for you, this worst way is striking right at your natural sense of optimism. Threatening to basically cut it off at the knees and take it down, because this is your Achilles heel. It is sort of what you always had hope for, or what you'd always dreamed of would be the case, or would be the truth in your life, or the person that you cared about so much that made you believe in the best of life. Ultimately, this person is taken out of your life. Unfairly, harshly, inexplicably. Something that seemed like it was impossible has happened to them. And it's not good. And ultimately, you're left with emptiness. What do you do when you're left with emptiness? It's going to be on this new moon. What do you do when you're left with emptiness? When you go to where you've always gone, to where everybody else gets their water, and now there's no water there. What do you do when the water's just, where you expected to be able to get abundance, it's now not there? What do you do? Ultimately, there's this sense of believing so deeply in yourself that you look at this terrifying circumstance in front of you and you don't back down. You don't run away. This could have something to do with your body. This could have to do with your house. Sense of innocence being lost in your body or your own home. A sense of innocence being lost in what you believed you were going to, like a well, a resource for you. You were going to be able to get this resource, and now all of a sudden it's gone, and having to still look in the mirror in the morning and like what you see. Your very nature is going to be tested. Questioning your beliefs. Questioning everything about yourself. Sea of love. Going from sort of something open and innocent and wholesome and beautiful, like it was rising, like it was just coming to be, and then all of a sudden it's like taken from you. That ideal is taken from you. Maybe not a person, hope not, please, but an ideal is taken from you. Now, maybe you've already been through this. Maybe this is something that's already happened to you. And this is the Achilles heel that's being struck. It's all of a sudden that thing about you that you doubt the most, that thing about you that you hate the most, is sort of front and center. You can't, every time you look at yourself, you can't get around this. Well, you're not supposed to get around it. You're supposed to embrace it. You're supposed to accept it. You're supposed to make room in your home for that horrible thing. Because running from it is only going to exhaust you. And ultimately, it is a part of you. So there is this sense of, figuring out how to apply your optimism to yourself. At a time when energy is depleted. And the news looks bleak. You could have a child taken out of your home, being taken from you. You could get news that there's just some sense of tragedy. And how do I move on from this? How do I even see the world the same way again? You don't. The world isn't the same. You wake up the next day and you look in the mirror and you try to find something beautiful to see. Because there always is. There's always something beautiful to see. And in that first step toward a healed optimism, in some ways you're ensuring that the optimism never leads you again. Freedom. This is a transitional period for you, allowing yourself to become freed. Also enlightened. It's Aquarius energy. Home. Maybe freedom from your home. You may be getting a message that you've lost your childhood home. And in some ways, it's the next step for you. Or you may be moving out of your childhood home. Whatever it is, there's a sense of what you once considered stable, it's not there for you anymore. And it's been done to basically free you from any kind of tether or heaviness, to change you in a way. Stepping through to the next phase of your life. Stepping through this most horrible period of your life. Stepping through maybe this not so horrible period, but ultimately stepping through a transition in your life to allow change to happen. Home is where the heart is. So it's almost like you're leaving home. The home that you had has been destroyed. And now you're moving on to another one. And you're realizing that home is where your heart is, not necessarily where you live. And there's a wonderful sense of freedom that comes from that. It's like maybe you've been stuck too long in one place. You haven't been able to move around, and it's been really rough and really draining you and really destroying all the happy memories that you had as a kid. And ultimately, Sagittarius, you're liberating yourself from that. I don't need to stay in this one fucking place in order for me to have home. I have a home right here. It's wherever I go. It's where my happiness is. It's looking in the mirror and saying, that's where my home is. My home is where I am. I love me. I'm happy with me. I'm satisfied with me. To look at something completely unafraid. Unafraid to look at the truth of a situation, which is the hardship of a situation, and still see that I can show up. I can make it through. You will get through this, Sagittarius. It's just going to shock the shit out of you. Because where you expected there to always be resources, there's not right now. There's not. You may be getting evicted or kicked out, or just a sense of having to move on somehow from that childhood home or that place that you felt protected or that was always going to be there for you. Now, you could take this metaphorically. You know, you could say that it's your childhood home, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a job that you've worked for a long time. Something that you gained a lot of security from is suddenly going to be up and taken from you. This is the test. This is that horrible way that Pluto is testing you right now. Will you still be able to remain positive and balanced and optimistic? Where does your optimism come from? Does it come from those creature comforts that you've built up around yourself? Or does it come from your heart and your real faith and connection to the divine? That's the question that's going to be asked of you right now. And holy shit, is it going to be painful. Sagittarius, please. Let's get into the main reading, Sagittarius, because I really want to try to help you through this. Sagittarius, please. Sagittarius, please. Also, there's always, set healthy boundaries. Okay, there's a lot coming out right now. Set healthy boundaries is in reverse. So you left yourself in some ways wide open. Your soft underbelly was exposed. And this is showing in the past. So in the past, your soft underbelly was exposed. So maybe you developed a really thick skin because of that reason. Things happened too quickly. You were not protected. You were not safe. See, this is both Cancerian energy, both have shells, but it's in reverse. So it's like the shell didn't work. Nothing could protect you from this. You were not safe. You were not protected. You were exposed. And in some ways, it ruined a part of your innocence. Here's the Star card. Your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, Aquarius energy. Be here now, be in the present moment. This is you getting your shine on, finding a happy place, finding a happy time, Aquarius energy, Libra energy. This is embrace the in-between, more Libra energy. Finding a time to enjoy your present moment, to find a home, find a flock, find somebody or a group that you belonged to. Find your belonging. So coming from a past where you were overexposed and not protected, you found a way to feel good, focusing on the moment and finding people who you really fit in with. And then you set to work on manifesting your dreams and your goals. But this is also some sort of heredity. So mother, grandmother energy of the tangled web we weave, somehow maybe generational, somehow generational. Watch your words. Watch your words. You don't want to get tangled up in some sort of manipulative conversation or be hypercritical. Maybe there's a sense of you're hypercritical toward a specific person, particularly a mother or a grandmother, Sagittarius. Act as if. Blend in. Try to blend. Try not to it's going to be so hard with Mercury's position, especially around the full moon, to not just pop off and say exactly what it is you feel. But ultimately, there could be a sense of, if you say this to the wrong person, the bloom will fall off your relationship, even if it's like to a parent that you've had decades worth of relationship. It's almost like the bloom will fall off, and ultimately, you'll never be able to come back from it. So kind of like, in some ways, right now, try to just blend in. You're going to want to pop off. This is something isn't working out. Pretending that something that isn't working out is working out. And it's becoming increasingly difficult because this partnership is sort of just a facade. Remember that from your past. It's also something about this partnership is reminding you, something about this partnership or the work that you're doing is reminding you of shit that you went through when you were young. And it's starting to really scare you and freak you out because it's like you want to learn from the past. You don't want to go back to it. You want to be able to avoid it at all costs. But it's almost like something in you is starting to see right now horrible stuff that you lived through in the past. And that is what's really scaring the shit out of you right now, because this was a comfortable situation up until now. This was a romantic situation, a happy situation, a healthy situation. But I have to say this to you, oh my God, Sagittarius, it still is. It's just something about this person has reminded you of what, of a bad experience. This is an abundance in this relationship, in this romance. This is many, many years, or it's productive, it's fertile, it's still got a lot to offer. Somebody's loyal to you. They care about you. Be loyal to your children. Be loyal to what you love. Love harder than ever is kind of the message, the way through for you right now, Sagittarius. Lay a solid foundation, which is Virgo energy. This is love, because remember, Venus is in Virgo right now. This is some issue with love. This is some issue with your romance. This is somebody nitpicking. This is somebody extra needy. This is somebody who needs a little extra support right now. This is also a sense of you needing it yourself, needing to feel more attention, to be paid more attention to. This is you needing to hear responses back, like having your text message answered. You need very clear communication right now. That's that sense of a very clear communication. You need it. You need it. And then this is spirit, which means you've been receiving messages, or you need to literally receive messages on the regular messages that help the person that you love know that you love them, because they're in a really tender, fucked up space right now. All kinds of lost in their head. Because there's something that tipped them off about something that happened to them when they were a kid that messed up their childhood. That literally stripped them of their freedom. It could have been something just unexpected. Also, It's almost like at this time in their life, it caught them at just the wrong moment. At a time when they thought their life was going to start blooming, or there was a sense of happiness, all of a sudden it was taken from them. This is in the past. This is not what's going to happen in the future or what's happening now. But it's that something that was that unexpected that happened in the past is essentially what is coming back up. Because remember, Mercury goes retrograde, and it's retrograde in Scorpio. Any of those buried emotions are coming up. They're going to be right on the surface, and they might be misconstrued by being superimposed onto where you guys are right now. So please be very aware of that, especially when you talk to your partner, because it's almost like they may not, if they're shouting at you or they're going off on you, not that anybody should, but to say it's coming from a place that's deep down inside. It's coming from a place, and it's probably coming out at you because you're the safe place. You're that safe haven. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine where she was telling me about her daughter would always come home from her ex-husband's house, and he would always report she was a perfect angel. But every time she came home and she was around her, she'd scream, she'd yell, she'd tantrum, she'd freak the fuck out. And so she, of course, brought her to therapy. And the therapist said, well, you're the safe place. You know, all that frustration, all that sadness, all that sickness, she knows she can spew it all over you, and your love is unconditional. She's safe with you. But ultimately, it's almost like there's these buried emotions that needed to come out on somebody else that are now coming out on you. And there is this chance maybe that you have to sort of help somebody to get through this really hard time instead of judging them. Be like God and believe in Job, believe in him through his hard times, through his rough times. Like, don't be tempted to damn him or persecute him, but instead just say, he's going to come through this. I know he is. I know he is. This sense of leap of faith in somebody, even when they're not showing you the best of themselves. Now, normally I would not recommend that. Normally I'm like, dump a motherfucker because you can't let somebody treat you, you know. But ultimately, that's really not what love is about, is it? It's real love is, God is love, right? God is love. God is connection. Love is connection. And it's staying connected to somebody even through a really imperfect period, or when they're extra needy and it's almost like they're acting childish, like they're reverting back to their childhood. This is also an excellent time for you to kind of bond with them and learn more about them and what they suffered. See it above, like let spirit be your guide. See it from above, see it from an aerial perspective, because as long as you don't take it personally, there is this sense of you'll be able to help them through, like sort of be their guide through all this, or vice versa. Let's see what the spirits have to say. Spirit, guide, and angel messages, please come for Sagittarius right now. Ooh, the unknown. Yeah, tell me about it. Do not fear the unknown. This is a time of deep exploration and transformation. Unfamiliar territory leads to new horizons. So this is a sort of dangerous pass that you're going to have to weather, ultimately to get to an even more real point in your life, in your personal development, or in your relationship. Peace. No matter where you are or what you're doing, inner peace is always possible. All it takes is a subtle shift in awareness. Think love and peace will follow. So in other words, believe that you're loved. Even if something terrible has happened to you, believe that you're loved. Make a decision to just believe that you're loved. Even like Job to God, like even though all these terrible things are happening, he still hasn't lost touch with this idea that he is loved and he is favored and he is cared about. I'm sorry, something happened. I'm sorry. I think it was a text message. And you can find peace in just the decision to not lose faith. Archangel Michael is here, so you are protected. The path is now clear. I have removed all obstacles in your way. You can move forward now with ease and confidence. You will achieve what your heart desires. I got multiple messages channeled while I was reading this energy. Essentially, it's confirming, I love you, Archangel Michael, saying that the worst is behind you. The past, the painful past, that's over with. You're not going to have to experiencing anything terrible, but something triggers it. Probably Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio. Triggers this energy. And Archangel Michael wants you to know you may be reliving it, but you're not living it. This trauma has passed. You're protected. You're safe here. You're in a safe space. You're guarded. And in truth, your situation or your predicament has changed. It's not the same because you're surrounded by a peaceful place now. Whatever caused the first trauma is actually in the past. The shocking part of this situation is it's just going to come up from nowhere. So it's almost like your patience is going to be tested as well. Let's go into tarot to get some more actual details because I really want a lot of clarifiers on this one. I love you guys, and I'll see you over there. The link is below in the description box.